In Bayelsa, John Sabiri was arrested for embarrassing the governor.
A list of young people facing different charges on rights issues in Nigeria, reeled out by the chairman of the 2019 Human Rights Summit by the Nigerian Bar Association Lagos chapter.
Madonna, a former student, a graduate, was arrested for complaining about his alma mater. In UNAB, a student complained of armed robbery. The authorities said it was embarrassing.
He also recounts the moments before the fracas on his client, Mr. Ashore, in the courtroom.
The judiciary must stand its ground. And that was what the Honorable Justice Ijeoma Ojukwu did last Thursday by saying, what has happened to my order? And the senior lawyer representing the government said, in the face of the court, my lord, yes, the judge had signed the warrant of release, having verified the sureties. The lawyer said, like his client, oh, the sureties did not come to our office for approval. And the judge said, I beg your pardon.
The keynote speaker, former National Human Rights Commission chairman, criticizes the leadership of the NBA for not championing the cause of the rule of law.
Well, human rights advocacy is the next item on the agenda this morning on Sunrise Daily. And to join us in this conversation, we have the General Secretary of the National Democratic Coalition, DECO, Chief Opadokun. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. I thank you for bringing me here, but you know, I'm not a chief of anybody. I remain an ordinary Opadokun.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
So there's this talk about abuse of human rights in Nigeria. First of all, what's your take?
I believe it's a very disappointing and unwarranted reversal of national fortune to the dark days of successive military dictatorship we thought we have left behind.
Do you think we have human rights abuses?
We do have, in very embarrassing dimension. What one never expected to be happening today are happening. I thought that having laid down our lives, lost our sweat, lost our blood, lost our liberty, even got martyred in the process of restoring democracy to Nigeria, we will never witness what is happening today in Nigeria, particularly with this recent one of Showore. It's a great embarrassment. It makes one look so unfortunate as having wasted his time, wasted his life opportunity to serve the Nigerian nation and the Nigerian people. Yet, those who captured power, because they were not part of the struggle, they never knew what they were pinching us. They are messing up the entire system. So it's so unfortunate.
When you draw similarity between what is happening now and what happened during the military regime, I understand that you were part of a fight for democracy in that period. And, you know, the government on one hand will say, well, we have given people the right to talk. In fact, just yesterday, we saw the president's spokesperson saying, I mean, the fact that a particular media house made a decision shows that they have freedom of speech and to express themselves. So the question now,
no,
on
please,
one hand,
for God's sake, let me respond to that.
No, I don't want you
to get away with that.
No, I would like you to respond on a whole.
That is a nonsensical statement from that man.
Okay, I'd like you to respond on a whole. Just
no,
one
no
minute.
Nigerian state does not is not the one, the giver of our freedom of speech. We fought and got it for ourselves on not on the plate of gold. We fought very, very bitterly for it. So no one, these characters who are has engulfed military dictatorship because they're now in power, cannot tell us that what they're doing is as a result of the fact that they give us press freedom.
So now you are saying that it is almost the same thing as what we have during the military regime. So I'd like us to walk us through some of the things you have seen that you saw at that time.
Democracy itself thrives on 3 major pillars. The rule of law, its promotion, its defense, its consolidation. Freedom of speech, non-negotiable. The fact of the matter is that the global community itself is being overrun by elements who don't believe in democracy nor the rule of law. Unfortunately, we now have a symbol of that unfortunate dimension in the White House in the United States of America. While Trump will call the news outlets, the mainstream media, enemies of the people, and people are suffering for it. Well, it's already happening now. Sowore is not the first one. You remember what they did to Dakpolorun Yomi and his paper? You know what they did to some journalists who were covering the State House. And when you see this, your heart bleeds because we never got to this stage on a plate of gold, I repeat. We lost a lot. And it was not because we were interested in any political office. We only wanted the restoration of democracy to Nigeria so that our people can be a sign of relief and that those who will take over government will negotiate and execute policies that bring about better and higher quality of living condition for our people. But that's not what we are witnessing today.
So I'd like to take you back to that statement which the president's spokesperson gave out. You described it with some strong words. And
yes.
I'd like to know why. Because on one hand, he's speaking from his perspective, but you feel that that does not make sense. So I'd like you to explain why.
It does not make sense because most of them were part of the military succession agenda while we were fighting the battle to restore democracy in Nigeria. They cannot now be using the space that God has used us to create to embarrass us as if they are dashing us freedom of speech. We fought for it. When we were in the battle line, when we were in the trenches, we confronted the military oligarchy. The most ruinous, the most potent, the most violent of them, Abacha. Quite a number of us were garnered into cell houses, prison houses. Some were forced into exile, but we never gave up because we knew our cause was just, was right, could not be impeached.
But is all that happening now? That's why I said draw the similarity.
So that's what I'm saying. Now? After doing that, we don't expect anyone now to come and be imagining himself or his group or with the government itself as if they are doing us a favor.
So are those things happening now? The things that happened during the military regime, are they happening now?
I don't like repeating myself. I've said so. I've given instances of what are happening.
You said people have been sent into exile.
I said, look, today, what they have done to Sowore is a replica. It's a mindset that is unacceptable today. We cannot accept that to be happening.
But what
look, if the court of law grants Sowore bail, and the man was so true to his bidding, and he returns to court, for a continuation of maybe a continuation of his trial, and then hooded elements of the DSS will go to the courts to go and get him arrested. It's unfortunate. It makes us look, it breaks our hearts.
So, Mr. Opadokun, how did we get here? Just as you said, we stopped it then. The promoters of democracy, the Nadecos, and so many others in the 90s fought all of these people, these forces to a standstill, so to speak, as you have said. And of course, the media played their own role and all of that. And then we have a Fourth Republic. How did we now get to this point that we are now talking about the same thing, comparing our democratic experience today with the dictatorship of the past? How did we get here?
I venture to say this one again for the opting of time, that it is because Nigerians have stopped realizing the fact that every day of your life you must fight for your rights. The day you stop fighting for your rights, those who are misgoverning will continue to seize the moments out of you and to suppress you. It is a life struggle. We got here when it is as if election is everything. Election is not everything. Nigerians are not ready to take their destinies into their hands, to make sure and enforce the fact, the attitude of those who are in governance, to be responsible, to be responsive to the yearning and the aspiration of the people. That is to say, that they keep them on their toes to ensure that they are there for a time, and they must perform in accordance with the promises they make to the people. We are not doing that. And what is part of the reason is that Nigeria has been so pauperized by prolonged military dictatorship. And you may, you will have elements who are not well-meaning, I dare say, who will tell us now, oh, but you now have 20 years of so-called democracy. I don't share that. You don't have democracy. What you have is civilian governance here. The totality of the thing is that the military that conquered Nigeria in 1966, they are still in effective control.
That would be major allegations, and I'd like us to be careful.
I'm not.
So we don't get it. But you know, we need to go on a break.
Let's take a break now, Mr. Opadokun. When we come back, we'll take this further. Please stay with us. Mr. Opadokun is still with us here, but just before we take him on something very, very interesting moving forward, let's go to Abuja for another perspective. Mark.
Well, thank you, Ayo. We have with us this morning Mr. Oshinaga, who is an APC member. He is a member of the All Progressives Congress. He's also a public affairs analyst. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
My pleasure, Mark.
What is your reading of human rights in Nigeria? You saw that report which we just played before we came back to the studio, and it doesn't seem to paint a very good picture. It says a lot of the things are on the surface. But what's your reading of it? Do you agree with it?
Well, my reading of the situation is that, yes, there are a number of imperfections in our system. It won't be like heaven in one day, and I have no doubt that this government is doing everything it can to make it better every day. But let me say,
is it? I mean, yeah, I think that's a major question.
Well,
is the government really doing anything to make it better?
Absolutely. The reason why a lot of people are not in jail, despite the acerbic criticism of this government, like Federation said yesterday, the fact that Punch could do what they do and did not end up sleeping in cells is because there's freedom of speech. You can't do that in Rwanda. And there are several nations you couldn't have done that and go home in one piece. The fact is that this government respects human rights. What we need to understand is that there is a coalition of the disgruntled, a coalition of the defeated. Many people have not gotten over the defeat in March, and they are still working. This is still politics by other means.
You know, I want to know, you have admitted that there is imperfection.
Absolutely.
And that, you know, we should work to make it better. The problem will be if we do not recognize what these imperfections are, or that when people speak, you know, government looks at it from a political lens. Take a look at the Showore matter, which has been brought to the fore, which has caused the most controversy, it would seem. You know, you had the NHRC there.
Yeah.
They have said, our problem is not the fact that you're prosecuting him. Whatever the matter is, I mean, the court can always determine whether or not he's saying that there should be a revolution now was treasonable or not. However, the manner in which this is being done, is this in conformity with the rule of law? That's the question.
You're right. As for the Showore matter, what happened in court the other day, the government has set up an investigation team. They will look at it. If the government officials, the DSS officials, went beyond their brief, they will be punished, they will be rebuked.
The government has set up an investigation which people are taking with a pinch of salt.
The reason for this
seems to be an afterthought.
The truth about it, those who are driving this narrative, who are they? They were all the people that lined up with the opposition in 2019 and were defeated.
Which people are those?
All the people. Showore contested in the election. Showore lost. Showore is now the one coming to be an activist.
So perhaps...
Hold on. Kanu, that he met with before he announced revolution now, has been against this government. Punch has been critical, unrelentingly critical, since 2015.
Mr. Oshinaga, some people will say that all of this are inconsequential.
They are.
When you look at the matter at hand, which is the rule of law, let me bring to you one person who has said he's in your party. He's the governor of a state. He used to be former chairman of the NBA, Mr. Rotimi Akeredolu, has said that what happened in the courts cannot be upheld, no matter the story anybody tells.
He wasn't in the court, and so he has no first knowledge of what happened in the court.
But you have said
Femi Falana told us that the people that held Showore down in the court were his supporters.
When did Femi Falana say that?
There's a quote. There's a quote that Femi Falana said that the people that held him were his supporters. In any case, Did
you also hear when Femi Falana said that the DSS apologized to the judge over what happened in the court?
I don't have first knowledge of that. That's possible.
But you have first knowledge of the fact that he said they were his supporters.
And if they did, that is civil, that is right. What I'm saying to you, the undercurrent of all this struggle, the undercurrent is that the people who are on this side criticizing government were the same people that this president defeated in 2019 election.
No, the point right now is this.
That's a point.
No, Mr. Oshinaga.
You must admit that that's a point.
Indeed, perhaps it is. But the point right now, and perhaps the most important point, is for the for the rule of law to be upheld.
Absolutely.
And if that is the situation, and people are saying, look, that is the substantive matter. The how of how you're going about this is the most important thing, and the government is falling short of upholding human rights when it comes to that. What is the defense in that regard?
If the facts are examined and the result is that the DSS misbehaved, it will be right for government to apologize and do the right thing.
Is it right? No, just a moment. Is it right that somebody is granted bail after after prolonged controversy over, oh no, he didn't bring sureties, oh, we have to verify the sureties and what have you. He's released one night. He goes to court the following day. Let's even leave out the drama in the court because it is controversial. It might be controversial. He goes back. He's driven by his lawyer to the DSS for questioning, and then he is rearrested. Till date, he's still in the custody of the DSS. Doesn't that smack of high-handedness?
Well, what is he charged for? Listen. We were in this same country when other governments have done worse things. You didn't call them dictators. We were in this same country when a president disobeyed Supreme Court till he left office. Nobody called him a dictator.
Is it justifiable?
No, I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that those who are weaving this narrative have motives for it. And it's important you understand why they're doing it. I warned repeatedly before the election that they were planning what they called a Venezuela option. It didn't work out then. They're probably trying to do it now. And they are using the guise of these things to promote to precipitate a crisis.
No, but Mr. Oshinaga, I'm not going to take whatever controversy you're spinning around this. I'm not going to take it away from you.
I'm not spinning it.
And what I'm trying to say is that whatever it is that they're happening, whatever it is they're weaving, isn't the government the one giving them the material to weave it? That's the question. The manner in which it goes about handling some of the issues which ordinarily, it could handle within the ambits of the rule of law. Better. That's the question I'm asking you.
I'm not a spokesperson for DSS or even for government, but I will admit there are tidier ways to have handled those things. But having said that, I am saying that there are people who are disgruntled, people who are defeated, who are cashing in on these things to foment trouble, to start a mass uprising. That is the issue. We must, yes, the Shawara case, they will look at it. In my view, if the DSS overstay or went beyond their boundaries, they should appropriate action should be taken to punish them. But I am saying that we must not unwittingly support those who are looking for a crisis.
A strong enough signal to authorities, to security authorities, that they have to act within the ambits of law. And I'm not just referring to the Shore matter. Let us look at what happened with the 8th Assembly, where when crisis got to a head, we saw masked men at the gate of the National Assembly, the symbol of our democracy, preventing lawmakers from going into... We saw what happened at the end of the day. The vice president, who was acting president then, said this had no place in our democracy and took decisive action. The then head of the DSS was, removed from office. And that seemed to pacify many people that indeed government knows that these kinds of things shouldn't happen. But when you see over and over again attempts by the security agencies, in this instance, the DSS, is government sending a strong enough signal that certain behaviors will not be tolerated in our democracy? Government
should. I admit that government should. We should send signals that you cannot do illegal, unlawful things just to protect or to do your duty. But we must not overlook the underlying currents. The fact of the matter is that this president has taken steps never before taken since democracy started that has annoyed a lot of powerful people. And they are not taking it easy. And they are trying to fight back. We must not lose sight of that. And Nigerians must not allow themselves to be used for some people's private gains and secret ambitions. So what I'm saying is that there's a coalition forming. Punch cannot come now. Look, if Punch had been fair all along, Punch had never been.
People have a right. People have a right to protest however it is they choose to.
Nobody's denying them that right.
Yeah.
But don't call something for me that it is not. Let Punch as animals against this president. Punch They sided with the opposition in 2019. They made it public. What has changed? They don't like this president, fair. But to now say that because your candidate lost, you want to continue the war by other means is not acceptable.
Even that is very, I mean, how can you say it's not acceptable when you already said, it is their right to? If it's their right to, how is it not acceptable?
Let's go back to Showore. If Showore did not participate in the 2019 election and lost, I will treat him, I will look at it better.
Mr. Oshinaga, I don't want to
you
make
can't
this...
lose an election.
I don't want to make this...
come back.
I don't want to make this solely about Showore, because you know, we will lose sight of many other infringements. In the report, which sadly we couldn't play to the end, you know, there were many other instances, because this is not just happening at the federal level, instances where even state governors are holding people who criticize them.
And all of this is shouted out on what is happening in Akwa Ibom. It's a PDP governor doing that. Jalingo is being held for treason, for criticizing. Who's talking about those things?
The point is this, sir. The point is this. If there is no leadership on the part of the federal government, then this sort of impunities will certainly go on unchecked. These things are coming to the fore because the media is bringing it to the light. However, at the federal level, are we seeing the leadership that we ought to see to ensure that this sort of behaviors... I'm glad that you see that these things are not right. I mean,
they're not. I will not support evil.
Indeed. So if that is the case, who is standing up for the rights of these people who are facing these injustices?
Is that we have had this in worse form in the past. Why in Ekiti State, a governor beat up a judge who shouted. Who came on national TV to say this is wrong? In 1914, the president allowed the DSS, the then president allowed the DSS to lock down serving governors because of election. Who shouted? What I'm saying is that they are making a mountain out of a molehill.
Okay, let's go to Lagos now and take the perspective of Mr. Opadokun.
Thank you, Markwe. So I'm sure you want to react to some of the things that you've heard, Mr. Opadokun.
Well, first, I am disgusted with the politicization of the concept of advocacy that have been violated by Nigerians by the man speaking over there, as if all Nigerians must belong to APC before they can speak truth to power. We are in that mode. And let him be told, we never saw him. People like them are the ones in hands and glove with the military, while we were in the trenches. So they don't have the right to come and commandeer all of us to be part of them in the ruling clique that continue to disobey the rule of law, continue to violate it at the whims and caprices, and justifying it. The fact that he even said that the current government is the best, that's why many people are not in jail, is insulting. It's insulting. I give kudos, I give credit very expressively to the Nigerian media. They fought titanic battle. If sane people are taking over governance in 1999, the Nigerian media ought to be celebrated, because for all the struggles we waged, if they were not reported, and if they did not suffer shame, they went into guerrilla journalism, even to report the activities of the pro-democracy groups, the punch that is now abusing, and the likes. Many of them went into guerrilla journalism to report the occurrence of the military dictatorship that we had. So this kind of characters, well, it's not speaking for government, it's speaking for his pocket.
But look, one of the issues that he raised, and I don't know what you think of it, he said there's the likelihood that some coalition of people who lost political goodwill are the ones that are spinning this narrative against government to discredit it.
For example, people like us, we knew what God used us to do. We had to utilize our network of nationwide connection to raise up supporters for General Buhari for one major reason is commitment to fight corruption. And we thought that as far as we were concerned, there's no one on the horizon that could do that job as Buhari could do. So till tomorrow, we support him in his fight against corruption, even though there are doubts, and there are some misadventure in some respect over even that one. So we people like us cannot be part of any group that want to bring down Buhari government. What to quarrel with, it is in his inability to live off the toga of military dictatorship. You remember that when he was military dictator, that was when he manufactured Decree 4, where truth became a mortal offense. Nduka Irabo and Co. And Thompson were jailed for speaking the truth over the composition of emissaries who were going to be ambassadors in The Guardian. And that is the kind of thing that we're seeing now, that Sowore, whatever it is, he has a right to contest for power. The fact that you have contested for power doesn't make you an infidel that cannot speak to truth. And in any case, I do not know who are the minders of Mr. President who want to ruin his name and damage his reputation.
Are you still confident? Are you still confident in the president? You said you have supported him, but before we go on a break, are you still confident in this government?
My confidence, as far as the major matters of this corruption, is doing its best, and I do not need to ask for anybody's favor in that. It's doing its best in the circumstance, because if you look at the size of corruption, the debt it has reached Nigeria, I'm not sure the kind of thing that people are talking about, whether there's anyone who can do it much more. For example,
just before you give these examples, please, we just want to take one last break, and then we'll be back to wrap it all up. So please stay with us. Final moments now with Mr. Opadokun. There was something you said earlier, and I'd like us to close on that. You said that the people have a major responsibility to champion their own human rights individually. How do people go about that?
In every given sane society, there are three classes of people. The very rich at the top, the middle class, and then the lower rank, who are the poor people. Ordinarily, it is the middle class that forces concession from the very rich to get to them, the middle class, and then to populate that is there. But where a country is unlucky, that the preponderance of the people in the middle class are the people whose business, whose preoccupation is how to marry the second wife, how to buy a customized car, how to build the next house by the sea, how to send their children to the elite school, both home and abroad, how to bury their dead,
so
their elder ones.
Time for human rights.
They don't have rights for doing what ordinarily they should do. Such a society can never grow. That's why my challenge to the younger people, you have to take your destiny into your hand. The day you start, when you see grumbling silently, it's a disease. I don't have good words to lamentators. Nigerians are busy lamenting the state of the nation. I don't have good words for lamentators. Lamentators know what is right. They know what to do to right it,
so
but they don't have the guts of their conviction. That is what they should do. The day you start amassing 5,000, 10,000 people to say, this one we don't accept, that is when government will take you serious.
Okay. It's very, very fine to leave it with you, Mr. Opadokun. Thank you very much for your time. All right, Maokwe, up to you now, and Mr. Oshinaga.
Your closing words to us, Mr. Oshinaga, for those people at the lower rung, which Mr. Opadokun have also talked about, who suffered the brunt of human rights abuses, for those people who are awaiting trial, inmates and things of the sort, and for even those people who are political prisoners who believe that their rights have not been upheld, what would you say to them?
Well, let me first respond to Chief Opadokun. He's a legend in Yoruba land, and I respect him very deeply. But I take objection to what he said, that I'm fighting for my pocket. I wish I'll see him and have him apologize to me, because it's not true. This government has not paid me a dime. I'm doing this because I believe in the leadership of President Buhari to effect massive changes. I believe a Buhari is at least has the capacity to uproot, you know, in Yoruba, there's a Yoruba book, novel, Igbo Irumole, you know. My English, I describe Nigerians sometimes as the forest of 1,000 demons. And only a man like Buhari can root them out. We have seen governors going to jail now.
What people are saying is, can he do it within the ambit of the rule of law?
Yes, he will do it, hopefully. And don't forget that Nigerians gave him a 4-year new term. Nobody will be allowed to overturn that. No matter what they do, they will not be allowed to succeed. They did not succeed in March 2019. They won't succeed now. They won't succeed tomorrow until that time is over. Now, talking about the poor people, and that is why President Buhari is the cure, is a medicine. President Buhari has rolled out programs that take care of poor people. President Buhari has rolled out, agriculture has become a multi-billion.
I'm talking about the people whose rights have been trampled upon.
Well, it's the worst right that can be trampled upon is the right not to be able to feed, not be able to earn a decent wage. And I believe that this president will do judicial reforms that will protect the ordinary man on the streets, and they should be allowed to do that.
It's a fun place to leave it. We have to thank you for coming on Sunrise Today this morning. Mr. Segun Oshinaga is a member of the APC and also a public affairs analyst. Well, that's where we'll wrap it up on this episode of Sunrise Today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your contributions as well. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a beautiful day.
And you know what we say about our YouTube page? That's where you find all our content. And don't forget to subscribe. I am Kayode Okikiolu. Have a great day ahead.